Create a Halloween makeup for you today. I'm using Party Pieces costume and water-based makeup, Grimace and Krylin's Interference colours to create the shimmery effects, which you'll see later. To begin with, we've got to change the physical shape of her nose, and we're going to give her a few nasty looking boils as well. So that's the bit you need to start with. I'm using putty from Snazaroo into my hands to begin with, spreading it onto the tip of the nose and creating a hook nose. I haven't used very much. Lines all blend with the nose itself, so you don't see any hard lines. I roll into my hands into the shape of a horrible wart. Now, where should we have our wart? We'll put our wart on the chin, just here. The Wicked Witch colour. Now, when choosing your colour, choose it wisely because it must reflect the character, personality that you are actually trying to perceive. So if it's a fantasy witch, then you might use a lighter, brighter colour. But in this instance, we're creating a wicked witch. So we're going to use a really dark, grimy green. Now for this, you need just simple water in a very basic spray water bottle. And you use about 2 or 3 squirts. Apply a little bit on the sponge. Don't make it over wet. Squeeze the sponge slightly around the corners to make sure the paint gets in every single area. I'm stippling and I'm using a stroking movement to apply it. Wherever there are little patches, you might want to do a little stipple to make sure it's a nice smooth finish. Although with a Wicked Witch it doesn't really matter if you have a few uneven patches. The idea is I'm creating a really haggard looking witch, so a little bit of texture in there won't do it any harm. Now, if working on a child, always hold their head to keep their head in place so they don't wriggle their head everywhere. And her hair is already naturally back behind her ears, but I will just show you, if it's not, just clip the hair out of place to make sure you have the full canvas in view to get all the makeup. Obviously on an adult's face it will take a little longer, but on a child you should allow at least 10 to 15 minutes to prepare your witch. And you think you're going to be wearing it for some time, then you can use a little bit of powder just to fix it, because as we know, water-based paint will run when you sweat. So I'm going to use a little black water base. Make it mostly on the dry side, don't make it over wet at all, and just very gently apply it under the cheekbone, so you're creating a sunken in effect to make her look more emaciated in appearance. To suck your cheeks in for me, you suck your cheeks, that's it. Around the temples. Your neck's exposed, the neck would need to be coloured as well. Then you need to create the sunken eyes, so if you close them for me, I'm going to apply a little black over the eyelid, and for this I'm going to use a flat brush, not too big, obviously the size of your eyelid. And I'm going to drag this colour down the sides of the nose because I want to create the illusion the nose is smaller, slimmer. So you need to put the bags in there. So all the way under, right up to the lash line. So to do that, we're using a fine brush, and I'm going to pinch the skin together to find the natural lines. This way it'll sit on the face much more realistically. I'm using this thick, dense black water base that's far more effective than any other water-based makeup. The shadow, I'm going to create a little bit more dense outline to give that more emphasis, and then I'm going to drag away. So I've applied the black around the edge of that previously applied shadow, and then I'm dragging away from that. Just apply that on both your temple, and you apply the same technique to the cheeks as well. And for the cheeks, I'm going to use a flat black brush from Snazzaroo area, and I'm just applied one black line and blending away from that one. It's on the nose, just to get around the chin. And then I'm going to apply some shading around the mouth area. Just follow the natural curve in the face. Make sure you get the nose to mouth line as well, where we previously put the black shading. Fine lines around the eyes. So the skin is pulled down with gravity as we get older. Inner corner here, and I'm going to work the brush up and lift it a little bit, as you can see. Just lifting the brush from the corner and up at an angle, because you want to create that really wicked effect. The eyebrows should be very expressive for a wicked witch, and this is how you create that. You can then, with a fine brush, or you could use a flat brush if you wanted to. This is Snazzaroo's flat. It's a small flat brush. This is perfect to create the wispy looking eyebrows. We then take a stipple sponge. And for those of you who don't know what a stipple sponge looks like, it's a wiry sponge with little small holes in it. And this is invaluable. It creates the texture to the complexion. And what we need to do is just mix it with a variety of colour. So I'm going to just add in little different shades of green, mixed with a tiny black as well. Again, just 3 squirts will be fine. Press the colours together in the sponge all over the previously applied green foundation. So I'm going to take a light gold interference Krylin colour. Using your fingers or a clean brush, I'm going to apply this colour over the top of the contour, around the top of the cheekbone area. This is a lovely creamy texture, I'm going to use my finger here because I find it easier to apply that way. And I'm just going to take a very little bit of it. Don't overload it, you don't need to cake it on, because a little goes a very long way. And I'm blending it up the cheekbone. I'm going to apply a little bit down the nose, so that puts more emphasis on the elongated nose. How we're going to shape the lips. Now, either you can colour the lips in black, for instance, or if she's going out somewhere special, she might want to have a faint hint of dignity and have a little bit of a regular cream-based lipstick. So I've picked one up that's a sort of very deep, bloody lipstick. You obviously don't want to use a light, bright colour. You want the lips to appear thinner, so always use a dark shade. Have a lipstick brush handy over the upper lip in that witchy point. So I've got two little witchy points which I will outline to put more emphasis on those in a moment. Purse your lips for me, that's it. And we're going to create some little smoker's lips here. Real emphasis on this. Then you might want to outline those with a highlight, run alongside each black line with a light colour so it stands out a bit more, which is what we're just quickly going to do, because it is quite fiddly. But you can also purchase some crepe hair from Charles Fox, and if you have a pair of scissors, just snip off a very, very little bit of that and you can fix it to any area that you have your mortician's wax, so where you've got your wart, you can emphasise. Before you use tooth enamel, just make sure that the teeth are very dry, so you need to use a little tissue. So if you open your mouth and just dry the tooth, apply it with a cotton bud and just very gently apply it to the tooth like a witch with few teeth. Make sure off entirely with a little bit of glitter if you want to on the eyelid for an extra sheen. So we can use one of these Interference Krylon colours. Which one shall we go for? I think maybe we'll try the little green. If you just close for me, let's just see how that one comes out. And here we have our final total look of our Wicked Witch of the West by Antonia Spicer using Party Pieces costume.